Hello, world. Welcome to Rex Arthur TV, Rex Arthur Show. This is the LGBTQ channel with that discusses LGBTQ issues with an LGBTQ perspective and an LGBTQ approach and also humanistic approach in an LGBTQ plus planet, because you have to know that we are a planet that is sexually diverse. No more, this is not a straight planet. Hey, for those of you who think we're still in a straight planet, it is not a straight planet. It is an LGBTQ plus planet. Everybody fits in the rainbow. Yes. And for the straight people, you are supposed to be an ally to support the LGBTQ persons. So welcome in to welcome in to our channel today. And today we are going to do a video that is discussing the interesting trend that is happening in the world right now, and maybe the Western world. I don't know. Africa, I think Africa still remains the same. People love having sex, um, but it's also, Africa is also becoming westernized. I mean, the whole world is being westernized. It's being globalized. You know, like I said last time, there's nothing like westernization as such. It's globalization. And the world is being globalized. So people are not, I mean, what's happening in the West is also happening in Africa, and it's also happening in Europe. It's happening in Asia. In fact, Asia, it's even more serious. Many people are asexual in the sense that they don't have sex a lot. And I used to ask myself, I remember one day I was walking in the street with my friend and I asked him, do all these people really have sex? I was just looking at all of them and really asking to myself, do these people really think about sex the way I think about it? Because I love sex, and gay sex for that matter. I love having fun with men, and yes, it is great, and but I'm also asking myself, do people really? When I looked at people, I was wondering, do really people think about sex? Maybe they don't think about it because they have very many things on their mind. I don't know. But this video I watched on Atlantic, the Atlantic channel on YouTube, is a very, very interesting video, and we're going to play it, but we won't watch it because I still don't have the mechanisms. I don't have a very good technological infrastructure to switch and we go to the video. I would do that maybe later on when I get a better application. For now, let's use this application. But I'm going to play parts of the video so that you can hear, and then we're going to do an analysis of the video, and then we'll also do an analysis of the what do you call it, the analysis of the video and other articles that support what we are saying. So let's join in. Let's listen.
These should be boom times for sex. Our culture has never been more tolerant of sex in just about every permutation. Shameful terms like perversion have given way to cheerful ones like kink. Polyamory is now a household word, and you can use apps to arrange for casual sex within an hour. But despite it all, young people are not having more sex, they're having less.
All right, so we'll be doing that step by step. And she's saying that it's interesting, that it's an irony that in this day and age, people are having we're having very many sex apps, many sex dating sites, many pornographic sites. We're having many of those. And she's saying that there's something weird happening to the whole world, that despite having so many sex apps, people are having less sex. You know, despite us having Facebook, Twitter, and all of these things where you can connect with people, people are really not having sex. And I like what they've called it in the video. They've called it sex, the sex recession, that people are receding in having sex. And of course, when she's talking about sex, she's talking about both heterosexual and homosexual sex. I would also say I'm here talking about LGBTQ sex, which includes homosexual sex. And I'm also seconding it because sex is sex, whether it's homosexual or heterosexual. No more jokes with people who say that heterosexual sex is not, I mean, heterosexual sex is not the same to homosexual sex. They are the same because they all involve sex, they are natural acts, they involve the body, they involve penetration, they involve pleasure. There's orgasm in both homosexual and heterosexual sex. So go to bed if you think homosexual sex is not sex. Okay, so let's go on with the video. You've got one point she has said. She has said despite the many apps that are in the world today that are sex apps and pornographic sites and what do you call it? The social media. People are still not having enough sex. Okay, let's go on.
The average adult has gone from having sex 62 times.
Okay, sorry about that. These are the adverts of YouTube, so they're giving us a problem here. So don't worry, we'll get back to the video. Okay, is it coming on?
62 times a year to 54 times. In the night.
Okay, so she's giving statistics, and the stats are that wherever they did their research, people are now having sex 52 times a year, and that would be 52 times. That would be about like every week they're having sex once every week, rather than the 64 times that it used to be. Okay, let's go back to the statistics.
90s, the percent of high school students who reported dating began to drop. More people than ever seem to be sitting on the sidelines, romantically speaking. Some experts say this may be because people are spending less time in couples. At the same time, the share of American men who reported masturbating in a given week doubled, while women more than tripled. Easy access to.
Good. So they're going on to say um, that people are not coupling anymore like they used to do. Dating, and it could be true. I mean, when you go to the restaurants and you look at people these days are just doing group stuff. They're not necessarily doing the couple dating that used to happen in the past. And of course, even at the beginning of the video, she talked about polyamory, which is now very popular and very. I prefer polyamory. I also call myself a gay polyamorist because we are now more erotic. We are more erotic when it comes to love. We are more involved in wanting to sleep with anybody that looks sexy, and then later on, of course, it comes with age. When you age and when you've settled down in life, you may tend to be less polyamorous, because most of the people who are not polyamorous, when you look at their lives, they are very secure, they are settled economically, they have it going all together, and then look at what happens to the heterosexual system. The heterosexual system cannot lambast the homosexual system because it has existed for so many years, and in the sense that they have been allowed, their marriage has been legalized. It's part of the system, so much so that when they allow LGBTQ marriage, it is like it has really changed the system. Like when you look at America and most of the West and Europe, they have really changed, and the change that has happened, it is immeasurable. People should understand the legal systems in Europe and America have completely undergone a great change. Reason being, now LGBTQ marriages are at par with straight marriages. Just think about that philosophically. It is a big thing that has happened, and it's going to go on. Many countries are going to allow gay marriage, and it will change society. It has already changed society in America. Even America hasn't gone through to analyze the change that happened when gay marriage was allowed. It is still, they're still analyzing the impact. You know, have you seen an earthquake? The aftershocks. A very big earthquake has very many aftershocks. Even after it has happened, it it echoes again. Boom, 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 boom. You know, for those of you who've had sex orgasm, you know, when you release, sometimes the aftershocks when there's a lot of cum and do 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 do. Yes, so that's what happens, and that's how life is. I mean, and that's the power of decisions that change systems. The gay marriage, um, the decision changed, and is the change is still being felt in America. That's why Trump's presidency came. They thought they could use Trump to kind of counter what happened to America. That's, in fact, that's, if you really study the Trump camp, that's what is in the footing. They want to change America because they are tired of what the liberal left did, and so they wanted now to they want to go back to the past. It's retrogression, but it won't happen because even on the right wing, they are gay people, they are transgenders, they are bisexuals, they are there. So it's basically, it's impossible. It's too late. Gay marriage will continue being in America, and it's going to change the system. Already the midterm elections have passed, and gay people became Congress people. There's a bisexual woman. She is now the senator. If she's senator or governor, I can't recall, of Arizona. Congratulations to her. In fact, we're supposed to do a video to pass congratulations to all the LGBTQ persons that are now in Congress and as senators. We'll do that video later on. So basically, just look at that. That's how fast things are changing in America. And very soon, even, believe you me, America is going to have an openly gay president, an openly bisexual president. Yes, it will happen because these people are now coming out. They are now in political offices. They are now engaging with the people. They are good leaders. They have exemplified, they have shown good leadership skills in the different states they are working in. And it's going to happen. And in Europe, it's old news. It's nothing, you know. Liechtenstein, I mean, Luxembourg and Belgium, all of them, they have openly gay prime ministers and presidents and leaders. A lesbian was even, she resigned in Finland or Iceland, one of the two. She resigned after issues came about, and she was the prime minister or president, head of state. So can you imagine? In Europe, it's already done. They're even going to higher levels. Even when I was attending the film festival, I was impressed to hear and shocked to hear that in Germany, the left wing is being led by the LGBTQ community, and most of these are feminist LGBT persons, and the right wing is being led by LGBTQ persons who are right wing. So basically, Germany is an LGBTQ country. The lesbian who leads the far right party is led by a lesbian. Can you imagine? And on the extreme end, you have LGBTQ persons who are fighting this far right leader, this lesbian. It's just, and we're going to do those videos to really marvel at the what is happening. That the rainbow community and the LGBT community has now become so diverse, it's even divided against itself, not divided on sexuality, but now divided on political opinions. Because the truth of the matter is, especially in America, in America's problem, the politics was that LGBTQ persons were found on the left. They were Democrats. And then the Republicans were not supposed to have LGBTQ persons. That is the whole drift. That because they are evangelical Christians, so they are homophobic, so gays cannot be there. Wrong. Gays are found also in the evangelical community. Remember the pastors. Ted Haggard was found, had a gay scandal. Bishop Eddie Long had a gay scandal, and all of these pastors were working with the right. They are the Republicans. So when these scandals came out, by the time Trump was, in fact, the whole decision by the Supreme Court to allow gay marriage in America finally made people know that there have been LGBTQ persons in the right wing. Unlike what was believed, people believed that only LGBTQ persons are only found in the Democratic Party. People believed that only black people are only found in the Democrat Party. People believed that Muslims are only found in the Democrat Party or the left wing. But now, with Trump's coming in, he created a new group. Of course, he didn't do it by himself. It's just there was a group of people in all of these groups, in the LGBTQ, in the black, in the women groups, and in the Muslim groups. There were people who were espousing right wing ideology. And what happened is these people went to support Trump. So you find gay people who like Trump, um, transgenders who like Trump, women who like Trump, and who else? And Muslims who also like Trump. I remember I saw some Muslims and I was shocked. I was like, what? They were really praising Trump because of what Trump was going to do with immigration. You see? Very weird. And then, of course, there are very few Muslims who support Trump, just like there are very few blacks. Okay, there's a sizable number. Blacks, at least some blacks support Trump. And they do it for, they have their reasons. And then you have LGBTQ persons who support Trump, which is irony. But it's happening. You know, Caitlyn Jenner liked Trump. Of course, now she has rejected him because of him denying being transphobic. So he doesn't want. He has a problem. I think he has a problem with transphobia. He needs to sit down and read the science of transgenders. It is so real. Transgenders are natural, completely natural, completely. I don't know how to say it. I have to say completely times 1,000. Completely natural. 21st century, the asexual 21st century, and from somewhere. So the the what I was saying is that we're still going on in the sexual century, to 21st century. I hope it doesn't remain asexual. Oh, asexuality, I don't really like it. Sex is good. It's nice. It's very fun to enjoy the body you love enjoying. You know, whether you enjoy men or women or both, that's up to you. Enjoy all of them. I enjoy men. I love men's bodies, so that's. I don't want to ever be asexual for. Yeah, I can cry. It's so annoying. No, it's good. Sex is good, but we have to accept the reality that there are people who are asexual, and you have to tolerate them. I have some friends who are sexual, and they don't like a lot of mushiness. You know, some of us who are very sexual or very open, we like touching people and feeling free with people. So, but asexuals are the opposite. They don't like that. They don't like that. And so I struggle. I try and learn how to live with a asexual and be their friend and talk to them very well, and give them their space. You know, don't be so romantic with an asexual, because they will read it like an assault. You are attacking them, and it's so hard living with them. Anyway, so just go back to what we talk about America, what is happening, and still Trump and all of that. There were gay people. As I said in the other video one time, Milo Yiannopoulos is gay, and he supported Trump and still supports him. And so all of these guys. Now, when Trump now came into the in presidency, the Republican Party also espouses, uh, has houses LGBTQ persons that are in the closet. So most people who are Republicans, most people who are in a Republican Party or the right wing party of a country, majority of them, they have closeted in LGBTQ persons. But the left wing is composed of mostly out LGBTQ persons. That's what people need to understand has happened in the LGBTQ world. It has split the LGBTQ world in that now there's a new division in the LGBTQ world: those who are out and those who are closeted. Now, those who are out come out and tell, like, I'm out. I don't hide my sexuality. There's a reason why I came out. I came out many years ago on Facebook, social media, and then of course that spread to the family and everybody knew who I was. And it was, of course, it caused fracas. Of course, being out has its consequences, just as being closeted has its. And I don't like the consequences of being closeted. I know the negative consequences. You can't be yourself. You don't feel like yourself. You really want to express yourself, that this is who you are. you know Out people tend to be very braggart. They like showing people that, yeah, this is who I am and I'm happy. Yes. But a closeted person tends to be very shy and doesn't even want anybody to know who they are. But one thing I know about myself, I tolerate both closeted and out people. That one, I've done my best to relate with both sides. And so that if you're closeted, I'll make sure you live continue living in your closet life until you come out and choose to come out. There are some people who will die and they will never come out. Never. And that's their choice. Yes. Do not attack them, and do not say that this guy was not gay because he didn't come out. No. He is. He's just that he wants to keep it private to himself. And there's a reason. Most closeted people, we still live in a heteronormative, homophobic world, despite it being an LGBTQ planet. Reason being, how many members of parliament in your country, especially in the third world, are openly LGBTQ? Just ask yourself. You'll see there is none. Because if you come out and you say you're LGBTQ, 80% people will not vote for you, because there's a negative connotation about being an LGBTQ person. It means you're perverse, you're dirty. When that's not the case, you're just sexually different. That's all. You're sexually different. And that's what we are trying to do in the third world, trying to make people understand LGBTQ persons are sexually different. They are not sexually perverse. It's not dirty to be LGBTQ. It is that you're different, you're diverse. So live your diversity. That's who you are. You're a woman and you love being with women. Yes. So what? It's natural. That's who you are. You didn't go to a school to learn how to be a lesbian. You are one. So you should be allowed. And if you have good leadership skills, why should you be denied leadership? Get it. And let's test you. Like, I was so happy, the one in the Scandinavian country, the lesbian resigned. She was also she also had corruption cases. Yes, there's nothing. This thing, people think that when you're LGBTQ you're too special. No, you also have issues. Yes, also you also have issues. You're a human being. It's just that you're sexually diverse. That's all. But you can fall into corruption scandals, or you can even do a very good job as a president or a leader. So people should understand that. So what is happening is that now there is the out and the closeted. And in America, that's what's happening. And more Republicans are going to come out. Actually, the war now in America is the evangelical church has to accept that there are gays in their churches. That's what, and of course, there are very few gays in the evangelical church in America. Reason being, it's very homophobic, and it's very homophobic. And but as I told you, Ted Haggard was in the evangelical church, very big leader, and he was still doing his gay sex. You see why? He was closeted. He knew nobody was going to find out. He knew how to plan his things very well, very extremely well. That's the power of closeted people. They are schemers. You can't even find them out. Waste your time trying to uncover their scheme. But the out people, like I am out, I prefer being out. It's better. I don't have time to be scheming about what I want. I mean, how do I have to go around? All I want is to have sex with you, and I have to go around. Yes, around to get there. I want like grinder. You just use grinder. Hey, where are you? Here. Okay. Within 2 minutes you're done. I prefer that, and people should understand that there's some people who like quick processes of doing things, and other people like long process. The closeted people, they like long things, and they do it that way. So because they are closeted, they don't want anybody to know, and they should be understood. All right, enough of talking about that. So now in Europe, most people are not on they're out of the closet, even politicians. So what it means, whether you're the right wing or the center or the left wing, you are you're out. That's why in Germany, the lesbian who is the head of the far right, she's not in the closet. Everybody knows she's a lesbian. She even has her spouse, and she's there. So we'll talk about Europe very properly. Let's enough of that. We are talking about asexuality and the fact that people are not having enough sex. But I needed to bring that out to you, that the LGBT community is in that situation right now of the out versus the closeted, and the right wing LGBTQ persons and the left wing LGBTQ persons, and the independent. There are those who don't even support right or left. They are independents. Yes. So they should also be protected and respected. All right, let's go on with the Atlantic video is here. So sorry, I can talk all day, so forgive me for my talkativeness.
The porn is part of this story, of course. Some people say that the internet has made it so easy to gratify basic social and sexual needs that there's far less incentive to go out into the real world to satiate these desires. Once
Good, very nice point. The internet has made people less physically real. We are now virtually real. Our life is on the phone. Our life is on the internet. In fact, if you are not working, you're not in an office, you don't have an office job, or you don't have a job outside there, 80% you're on the internet because 80% you are on the internet because you don't have a job. So one of the ways to reduce internet interaction or active internet life is to give those people jobs, because when you give people jobs, they won't be on the net, and when they are on the net, they will be doing certain things that are needed to be done on in the office, rather than just being on the phone. But guess what? As I've told you, there are some jobs that require internet, so it's already done. It's over. Like, I mean, when you work in Facebook, you have to be on the internet. when you work on Amazon, you have to be on the internet. There is no way you're running away from it. So they are right to say that internet has made people less physically real, and the reason being we are living in an interconnected world. We are actually in a technological world. We are no longer living in a non-technological world. The 20th century, there was no Facebook, no Twitter, no Grinder, absolutely no application. So it's a fact. People are going to relate with each other physically. If you wanted to see your friend, you would have to walk to the house, or take a cab, or take a train, or travel. Now, today, we have all of these applications. Please ask yourself, must you take a cab to see your friend when all you can do is just text them? And then now, as the video is going on, you're going to find out what is happening. Of course, you've already heard about masturbation. People are masturbating more and more. You can even masturbate with your friend online with your phone. Someone is in Nigeria and you are in Canada, and then you guys are chatting, and then you say, "Oh, I feel like having fun with you," and he just strips naked and then shows you a bit of the body, and then you release. You've had sex. Is virtual sex. So that's what's happening. So the internet has changed the century, it has changed the systems of the world. Okay, let's go back to the video, and we have. Okay, I hope it's.
One study found that the arrival of broadband internet access to U.S. counties explained between 7 and 13% of the teen birth rate decline. Our increasing social media use goes hand in hand with rising.
So you've had that. There's a teen birth rate decline when there was more internet access, because more people are on the internet, so they are not making babies. In the past, it was different because there was no internet. You are bored, you're just in the house. They just say, "Oh, let me just go and get my friend," and then you have sex, and then, especially heterosexual sex, and then you have a baby. So that's why the previous generation before the millennial came, and Generation X, is the baby boomers, because these guys were just making babies. They were bored. There was nothing to do. Life was good. Manufacturing began, TV came, all of these things, romantic movies and everything. So whenever you're alone, you are thinking about sex because that's what you're watching on TV. And next thing you know, you go and see your friend, and then you have sex, and then you have a baby. So that's why they're called baby boomers. They were only making babies. But right now, with the millennial generation, everyone is on Facebook, everyone is on Twitter. You have to go and check on what's happening in the world. Then after that, you have a sport apps. You are watching your sports team. Within a few minutes, in a few hours, 8 hours have gone, and you've only been on the internet. And so there's no time for you to even think about making babies. And it has led to the teen birth rate decline, especially in America. America, they really have, even when they're teenagers, they have babies. So it's very weird. But now that has declined. And could be the problem. The reason why the white population is declining is because people are now more busy doing other things other than making babies. I mean, Japan was already there. Japan, people are very asexual. They don't really think about sex, especially heterosexual sex, because they are very busy with life. And that being the case, they're not making babies. That's why in Japan, the population of old people is the highest compared to African countries where the majority of the people are young. Meaning, in Africa, it's different. And it's understandable why Africa is different. The birth rate in Africa is high. Technology is not that big. Yes, Africa is not that technologically developed. So people are living like the baby boomers of the 1940s in Africa. So you have to understand regions of the world are in different time epochs. Some countries have still not entered the 21st century. Some human beings have not entered the 21st century. They are still in the 20th century. And if you're a very religious person and you don't like using technology, you're still stuck in the century of your religion. Yes, there are people like that. I mean, there are tribes in Ethiopia that are still walking naked, meaning they are still stuck in the 6th century AD. Yes. You know, if you are a fundamentalist Muslim, you are stuck in the 6th century AD. You still practice Islam that Muhammad practiced to the full, to the letter. Those are the fundamentalist Muslims. And they are Christians, especially the end time Christians, that are still stuck in the first century AD Christianity. And they behave like those Christians, always waiting for Jesus, always waiting for his coming, reading the signs because Jesus is coming anytime. But there are Christians who do not live in that century, they live in the 20th century. And these are mostly liberal Christians or nominal Christians. You know, a nominal Christian is one who doesn't really care, doesn't take religion very seriously. They just go to church, and you know, it's a cultural thing. It's not. It's not a. It doesn't take their spiritual. Doesn't take their being. They are not serious about it. But a fundamentalist Christian takes it very seriously and really believes, and then they understand the world according to that first century belief system. They are understanding the 21st century in the first century lens. So you have to be very careful about the people you deal with in the world. They are all in different time zones. And as I've told you, in the West, practically more than half of the West is already in the 21st century. And that's why they are going through what they are going through. They are going through the decline in population, because when you are now more involved in technology, you will do less and less manufacturing of babies. And besides, even though there is technology to produce babies like IVF and stem cell reproduction, it's not enough if you don't have a woman who is willing to carry a baby. So basically, the women in the West may not be willing to carry babies, and that's what's happening. That's why, if there's no willingness to carry a baby, IVF is really not a help, and so is stem cell reproduction. So anyway, the video has said it very well. We are on the internet, and that is what's this decline, making sex decline, because we are spending more time on the internet than we're spending more time in bed. All right. And I don't know. I think it's okay. Internet is fine. I, whatever. Plan your time the way you want to plan it. Okay, let's go on. Okay.
Rates of anxiety and depression, which also happen to inhibit sexual.
So, you just, and it is of technology. And the dating and all of these courtships, they used to happen when you go to a restaurant, you go where, and you go to the park. Now it's gone. Because now, if you want to talk to somebody, have a conversation together. Conversations anymore. And then they have also said something else before that. You need to go and watch the video. I'm so sorry I'm posting it. So just go to the Atlantic and find it there, why young people are having less sex. So they have also said that because of people being on the internet for so long, anxiety, depression, and all of these mental disorders are increasing. And when these things increase, they reduce sexual activity. So people don't are not having enough sex, they're not releasing a lot of dopamine and prolactin, because prolactin is got when you have sex. And there's more prolactin when you have sex than when you masturbate. So, and prolactin is very good. It's a very happy feeling hormone. That's why I am supporting of gay marriage and decriminalization of homosexuality and decriminalization of sex work, because those who want to have sex and increase their prolactin, please go and have it. No one should stop you from having sex. Yes, these laws that are stopping people from having sex are detrimental to the health of people. So people should be free to have sex. But right now, we're not talking about the laws that are inhibiting and prohibiting sex. We are talking about the fact that sex is declining due to technological advancement. And that's what the video is saying in a very perfect way. Okay, now let's go back to the video. And we are doing, as I've told you, we're just doing it in bits and pieces.
According to one poll, 17% of young Americans now believe that a man inviting a woman out for a drink constitutes sexual harassment. Romantic pursuit is being cordoned off into a prearranged online space that for many people does more to suck up time than create successful matches, leaving
Good. Okay, let's finish the sentence.
them confused and overwhelmed. Another reason for the decline in sex might be people feeling empowered to say,
So, they have said that the sex decline is happening because, I mean, they've said a very important thing, that when people relate, coming to ask for someone for a date is now being constituted as sexual assault. You know, you're assaulting me. You're asking me out. You're sending me what? You want to go and have sex with me, or you want to know me. You want my telephone number. I give it to you. So that's what is happening in the society. And remember, this is a bit, it's a bit heteronormative, but it's no different to the homosexual community, LGBT community. It's the same thing happening, because sex is sex. And in the community, LGBT community is different because, on one side, because especially if you're in a country whereby they don't legalize gay marriage, or everything is underground. But in countries that have allowed gay marriage, this is also happening because people are feeling they are having less sex. So the sex language is declining. People are not able to communicate to each other that this person really likes me. And that's why people are now calling it assault. I mean, look at Me Too movement. It has come because of that. People now, and then there's the other one I wanted to do a video about, the men, something MYOTB, something like that. These are men, straight men, who have decided to go eat alone. You know, they don't want to be with anyone, because if they want to be with a lady, them being straight men, they are denied because it's called it's assault. So what happens is they have decided just to live life on their own. That's what has happened because of technological advancement. Okay, let's go on with the video.
no thanks. In 2012, 30% of women said they experienced pain the last time they had vaginal sex. Most women don't tell their partners about their pain and may have internalized the idea that physical discomfort goes along with being female. A healthy sex life is linked to a happy life, and having a partner is a stronger predictor than ever of happiness. But in this modern era, sex seems more fraught and intimacy more elusive. In time, perhaps we will collectively rethink some things like the abysmal state of sex education and the dysfunctional relationships so many of us have with our smartphones. Finding love and sex should not be anywhere near as difficult as it is today, but for the time being, the sex recession seems more likely to continue than abate.
Good. So the video over 3 minutes long, to the point. So the last point is said why sex is, because people are not talking about sex, and they've mentioned vaginal sex, that 30% of women who are having vaginal sex say they have experienced pain in the process. And so because of having pain, they don't want to have sex. And when they don't want to have sex, it leads to the decline in sex. Now, vaginal sex, yes, it can be painful. All sex can be painful. Even anal sex can be painful. I think the only sex that cannot be painful. Sorry. Oh my goodness. I didn't know this was going to happen. It startled me. Okay, let's finish. Too many people. Like. All right, that's enough. So sorry about that. It startled me. The uh, vaginal sex, anal sex, or okay, oral sex can only be painful if the person who is sucking you bites, tries to, you know, is biting your phallus, especially, or even your clitoris, if you're a woman. And yeah, that one now, that's dangerous oral sex. That one you're really into injure somebody. But of all the sexes, I think oral sex cannot be that bad. Is the least painful of sex in my view. Being a man and having been sucked, yes, it is less painful. Anal sex has some pain if it's not done well, and if the anus is not compatible, it's not properly compatible to the what do you call it, the penis or the dildo, whatever. Because you have to understand, thanks to diversity, thanks to diversity, we have diverse anuses and we have diverse penises and we have diverse fingers. Do you know there's some people who have thick fingers? Yeah. Think about it when they finger your anus or your area. Yes. There's some people who have fingers. And there's some people who don't like cutting their nails. And those are things that can cause damage and pain. But vaginal sex, I don't know how to explain it because I don't have a vagina. And I am not straight. But what I know, what we've had on the video, they have already told us that 30% of the women who are having vaginal sex don't really like it because of the pain. So we don't know why the pain is there. It could be also that they are not well lubricated, or the person in penetrating them is not penetrating them well. And of course, you can even put rape and all of those things in those things. So people, I don't want to talk about vaginal sex. That one is up to those who are bisexual and straight to talk about it. But basically, it is how people are having sex that can affect the what do you call it? The I'm losing the term. The frequency of sex being had by people. So there is low frequency of sex. Let's do a summary of the video due to how sex is performed. Secondly, technological advancement. Thirdly, the presence of dating apps. Fourthly, pornography. Fifthly, sexual habits like masturbation. You know, there's when you masturbate, you don't need to have sex. And I mean, there are many benefits of masturbation. You don't get an STD. Yes, you don't get an STI. So, and I've noticed in the LGBT community, masturbation is becoming very common, especially the male side. For females, they can still have sex because they really have less STIs because of the fact that there is no semen involved. You know, semen is a carrier of many diseases, and that's a fact. Of course, not that women don't release semen. Yeah, they just release some what do you call it? Some lubrications that are not as heavy as semen. So, but when semen is heavy and it is laced with very many diseases, there's a high chance of you getting sick, and that's what happens in the LGBT community on the homosexual or bisexual male side, and That's a fact that we can't refuse it. I mean, you're a man. Learn your body, know what your body has, and accept it. It's going to be like that. And for a woman, the same. So for women now, as I've told you, the lesbians, they can be having sex most often. But for men, in this era where there are very many STDs and STIs, you can masturbate. But it's going to affect you if you are not in a relationship, um, like a marriage or a relationship, a cohabitation with your fellow mate, your fellow man. Yeah, so it's anyway, that's up to you. I don't stop masturbation. Masturbation is okay, it's good, it's healthy. Of course, even though it has less prolactin than active sex, there's still prolactin released. So you are better off masturbating than not masturbating at all. Because if you don't, you'll also have prostate cancer. And because the body is trained to release. And that's what I was trying to tell people. You see, the ancient world, we never know how many people know the diseases that killed people in the past. We don't know. They never recorded. They only recorded about the kings and the queens. You know, like King Tutankhamun. Thank God they told us it was malaria. Yes, Egypt is Africa, full of mosquitoes. So they died of malaria. And who knows, some people may even have had cerebral malaria. You know, as I said in my other in the theological channel, you know, there are people who are writing the Bible and the Quran and all of these things. You don't know what diseases they had, mental disorders. They may have had diabetes. Of course, there was no diabetes that time because there was no processed sugar, so it was very rare. And because the only sugar was found in fruits, and you know, for you to get diabetes with fruits, you have to eat a lot of fruits, and that's it's almost impossible. So what I'm trying to say is that there were very many diseases that killed people in the past, but we don't know because they were not recorded. They didn't even know those diseases. People just died. You know, people just died. That's why if you're an atheist, you will always read Jesus' miracles with skepticism because there was no proof whether this person really died. Yes, you know, was he really dead? Maybe he was unconscious. But I don't know. I don't want to go into those stories. Religion, you should take it with a pinch of salt. And if you have to be religious, but in a very carefree way. Don't really take it with all your oomph. Yeah. So anyway, that was a nice video, and now we're going to go and do another part of the video. What we're going to call this part of the video, it is called the um it is called now what the articles say. You know, the articles, whether they're telling us um what I mean, giving us the reasons why people are having less sex, and then we'll be done with the video. Okay, this is the reason why people are having less sex. We are going to read from, you know, okay, this is from Maxim.com. Here's why millennials are having way less sex than Generation X. Okay, these are the reasons they're giving. Let's see how good the article is. No, it's I don't really like the article. It's not so okay. Maybe let's read the stats. That between the ages of 15 and 19, 42% of women and 44% of men reported having sex, relative to a significantly higher 51% of women and 60% of men in 1988. Can you imagine 30 years ago, people 51% of women who are aged 15 to 19 were having sex, and 60% of men aged 15 to 19 were having sex. But now it has dropped for men from 60% to 44%, and for women from 51% to 42%. So it is really serious. And remember 1988, there was no Facebook. Internet was still not yet spread out to everywhere. But now in 2018, almost everybody knows what internet is. Very many people have phones. Very many people are on applications. So voila, why are you going to look for sex when you can get sexually satisfied online? Yeah, people are getting sexually satisfied online. You don't need to travel all the way to Chicago, all the way to London, all the way to Helsinki to go and get sexual gratification. You can get it online, and that's what has happened. Okay, let's go to another article. That was Maxim.com. Now let's go to Forbes, the rich man's magazine. Millennials are having less sex than other generations, but experts say it's probably fine. So the experts are saying, no, we shouldn't be worried about people not having sex. And besides, guess what? That's why asexual. I'm so happy I've called this video the asexual century, because that's why asexual reproduction, especially in highly developed countries, is gonna be number one. It's gonna be number one way of reproducing. People are going to be reproducing asexually. They don't even want to have sex. And then there are also women who don't want to carry babies. They're tired. They would just want some other lady, let her carry for me. I'll pay her. And so she will not give birth. Yes, it's okay. By the way, please be liberal. Don't put yourself in a box of culture. No, if you don't want to carry a baby, get a woman who can carry your baby. And that's through stem cell reproduction. Because a woman can carry your baby without giving that baby her mitochondria. And that's through stem cell reproduction. Okay, let's see what Forbes is saying. And in Forbes, they're saying the prominence of online dating as a young people's primary means of getting together is a likely factor in the drooping rates of sexual activity. It ends up putting a lot of importance on physical appearance, and that I think is leaving out a large section of the population. Yes, this is the same to pornography and now like social media applications. And that's why there's body shaming even in the LGBT community. It's because when you watch porn and when you get people on the internet like Facebook, you have to get a picture. Like you find some people, they don't put their real pictures. One reason is because, of course, I don't want to talk about third world countries because they do that for sometimes security reasons. They don't want to be known. But for the and besides, in third world countries, they are both out and closeted people, so it's okay. But in a country where you're free to be gay and you're not really criminalized being a gay person, and then your Facebook profile picture has nothing looking like you, it's like there's something wrong. And someone may find out that maybe this person is not happy about how he looks, because when he goes to LGBTQ porn, it kind of gives him, it makes him feel ashamed that, oh, I look too fat, or I'm too slim, or nobody can like my face because that actor looks so nice. So there's that feeling that people have. And I've liked what they've said here, that it has killed the physical it has put a lot of emphasis on physical appearance. Therefore, erotic love is on the rise. That's why polyamory is on the rise. And that's why sex work is actually the hottest industry, is going to be. But with this with this data, it may not be really that good, but it is still lucrative because people like having sex with people who look sexy because they have been fed with pornography and modeling pictures, magazines that tell when you have these muscles, yes, everybody's going to die for you and everyone's going to give you. But when you don't have those muscles, nah, you won't really get somebody. So it ends up being that marriage or staying with somebody is based on love rather than based on sexual appearance, physical appearance. That's what's happening right now, and that's why now sexual activity is reducing, because getting people who are very sexy is very hard in this world. Yeah, people are even going for operations, surgeries, which is okay. I mean, if you feel like you need to look like, you know, big muscles, go and do whatever you want to do to get them, because that's what makes you happy. Yes. All right. So the article goes on to say the nature of communication now is anti-sexual. People are not spending enough time alone, just together. There is another gorilla in the room. It is whatever is turned on electronically. Bloomberg notes too that a drop in sex habits could certainly lead to a falling birth rates, and something that Swedish officials one are looking to combat by promoting the joys of sex to citizens and not just its dangers. So Sweden is trying to make people that there's a joy involved in having sex, and especially from what it sounds they're talking about heterosexual sex, because heterosexual sex is the easiest way to get children. Yes, it's easier. But I don't think it's that easy. No, actually, IVF is easy, because in IVF, all you need is an egg and a sperm. Heterosexual sex is not easy to get a baby from it, because you may be sleeping with somebody who is infertile. Yes. You may be sleeping with somebody, and then who said that the first time you have sex with the opposite sex, you'll get a kid? It's not true. There are very many factors. But in IVF and stem cell reproduction, all you do, ejaculate, get the sperm, get the egg in the petri dish, and fertilization is done. No sex whatsoever. It has happened. So we're going to have very many IVF children. It's the easiest way to have. So I think Sweden is just concerned. They don't really use, they are not, they don't really want to do the IVF industry at all. Yes, so basically Sweden, that's what they are doing. And then the other part of the article is saying that millennials on the whole have been working especially hard, often unpaid, to pursue professional development and their uniquely lofty goals, which can certainly cut into the time and effort required for romance. It's a highly motivated, ambitious generation, she said, and a lot of them are afraid that they'll go get into something that they can't get out of, and they won't be able to get back to their desk and keep studying. So that's very true. You see, there's books and there's romantic relationships, and the world we're living in, people are really, really working hard um, to make it in the world, because if you don't, you will suffer. You'll suffer economically and you won't be able to have a good life. So what are people are doing? They are reading. So in their reading, it is reducing the birth rates, and this is very common even in Africa. In Africa, the women are studying till university, and because of that, there is less romantic relationships, because especially, when you're talking about all of these things, it tends to be more heterosexual, and it's not wrong to talk about heterosexuality on an LGBTQ channel, because we have bisexuals who are part of the LGBT community. So we are now talking about the bisexual. When we're talking about this, we are now really talking. It's a real bisexual video, even though it involves gay people and lesbians. So yeah, because gays, I mean, it concerns all of us. People should understand heterosexuality and homosexuality concerns everybody. Yes, it does. Because as a heterosexual parent, you may have homosexual children. As a homosexual child, you will have an heterosexual parent. So you see, you have to understand both heterosexuality and homosexuality, and not be saying that since I'm a homosexual, I should not know what heterosexuality is. No, you should, because your parents were heterosexual, Sometimes you can be a homosexual and you have a friend with a bisexual, and the bisexual wants to get satisfaction from you. What are you going to do? Are you going to deny him because he is also straight or he has a wife? No, you will sort him out because he's bi. That's it. And then for the heterosexual, especially the homophobes who attack homosexuals, it's like, why are you attacking them when you have children who are bi and homo? Why are you attacking them when you are using devices made by those people? Like I was telling somebody off that he was saying, the father of computer science. I told him, the father of computer science is a homosexual and was a homosexual when he was alive. And here you are using his devices, using his knowledge. It is wrong for you to be homophobic against that person because you're using his things. If you really hate homosexuals and you hate homosexuality, please leave the internet. Leave them. Yes, get out. You're using homosexual science. Science that was created by homosexual men. At least Alan Turing being the father of computer science. That's what I was saying. So whether you like it or not, homosexuality concerns you. It concerns you if you're a homosexual. So that's why I'm doing this video. Whether it sounds I'm talking too much about say straight sex or gay sex, but mostly straight sex. Okay, so that's what they have said, and that's a very nice article from Forbes. Now let's go to the last one and then we can call it a day for this video. Okay, let's do, no, this is not it's not recent, so we will do that one. That article is 2016. We want to do the latest. Okay, let's do Vice, then we can call it a day. We asked millennials why young people are having less sex. Okay, that's a very good article. It was done 2 days ago. I think this was the best because it's coming from the young people's mouth. Okay, it's not really coming on. Could be internet. Okay, there are a lot of reasons. So these are millennials talking. We could try and copy the voices, but no, I won't do that. I wish I could read the whole article. It's so long, so I want to look for a summary. Okay, let's read the headline. Medications, number one, anxiety, STIs, high standards, and all the other reasons young generations aren't boning. So there you are. Medications, that's very true. There are medications that can reduce sexual drive and therefore sexual activity. And then anxiety, yes, people are they're very anxious about life, and that's why they're not even having sexual activity, high sexual activity. STIs, the fear of getting an STI, like these viruses out there are making people not really have sex. And that's why I was telling a friend of mine, my asexual friend, I told him that, I think some people are asexual not because that was the orientation they had. The asexual orientation is basically based on it's a continual orientation. People acquire it. It's more similar to the transgender. Transgender is there are some orientations. There are some sexual orientations that are time based. Time based. And I'm yet to do a proper study and analysis of them. But for me, transgenderism is a time based sexual orientation because there's an age you get whereby you really feel like you need to be the sex you were not assigned when you were a young child or when you were born. So that's time based. It means in the middle of time or in the midst of time, you now decide to transition, you move to another sexual assignment. That's now for transgenders. You're not necessarily born, you're born transgender. The whole feelings are inside, it's natural, but for you to come to fruition being a transgender, it will happen in the middle of time, not at birth. Yes, it's very hard for you to become a transgender at birth. It takes time, and then you go through life and you find, oh, I feel so feminine. I feel so what? Okay, I think I love being a lady. I want to be a lady. So as years are going on, you feel like that, and then you are now left with a decision of either getting a vagina, or you can even not need to get a vagina, but you still remain a trans woman. But there's that battle of now transiting. So it's because of time. It's a time-based sexual orientation. Then for asexuality, much as there are people who are born with a low sex drive. Yes, there are some people who are born with a low sex drive. There are some who acquire the sex, I mean, who have a high sex drive. They were born with a sex drive, but because of situations like schooling, medication, like what is being, these millennials are cleverly giving those reasons, medication, anxiety, mental disorders, and high standards. You know, you want to live a good life. So you had a very high sex drive, but then now because you want to have a very good life, you sacrifice your sex life. So you become asexual for like 10 years. You say, you know, no sex until I get my things in order. You know, no sex until I get $1 billion. So those are the people who are trying to do that. They're trying to get a high standards. Others are trying no sex because I have a friend who died because of HIV, and I can't believe it happened because of sex. So if sex is what led him to his death, then I ain't gonna get involved in it. So there are some people who have become asexual like that, but they were not necessarily asexual when they were growing up. Yeah, so it's a time-based orientation, in my view. Though there are some people who are naturally born asexual, they just have a low sex drive. They don't like having fun. But majority of the people who are asexual today, because of the low sex drive and the low sexual activity, is because of these reasons these millennials are giving. Okay, other reasons. Let's listen to Bella. In the generation of cheating, lying, and ghosting, I'm not about to have sex with someone who I'll never hear from again. So, Bella doesn't want to have sex because it's a generation of cheating, lying, and ghosting. You know, have you ever dated a ghost? You know, you had fun with a ghost. You see them and you never see them again. Yeah, those are the ghosts Bella is saying she doesn't want to have fun with. And so, because of that, she's not okay with a quick fuck. She doesn't like quickies. So, because of that, sexual activity is declining. Because if you want to know the sexual activity is high in a population, these quickies are too many. All right. Now, John says, when I was younger, I was having plenty, but as I entered my 30s and my economic situation didn't change, I just refocused my time. There's a bit of shame in not being stable in your 30s, so I avoid relationships. I don't want to date while still trying to get back on my feet. So this guy has an economic reason as to why he is not involved in sex and relationships. He still doesn't feel satisfied with his economic situation, and so he's avoiding relationships. Emma says, I take a few different medications, antidepressant, a mood stabilizer, and antipsychotic. A huge side effect of most of these kinds of medication is lowered libido. I often go through long phases of being completely disinterested in sex to the point that the thought of it makes me ill. Even if I do happen to have sex, it's impossible to achieve orgasm with a partner. If I'm persistent, I can sometimes get off on my own. So, Emma has a very long testimony. And for her, she's saying, for me, I'm taking so many medications, they've made me hate sex or not like sex. And even if I have it, I don't even have an orgasm because it's just I'm so sedated. I'm so filled with medicine in my system. And that's true. There are many medications that actually reduce your sex drive. And there's a reason. The medications, medicines are chemicals. Sex drive is chemical. So when you put chemicals that are really not part of your body, and then especially if they, like, mental disorder medication and STI medication are similar because sex, one of the sex organs of the body is the brain. So when you're going to put things in order, it's a fact that the chemicals in the brain will be affected by the medication you're taking, whether it's for mental health or for sexual health. So that's why Emma is having those problems. She is thoroughly sedated. And now Diana says, I wasn't very sexually active as a teen or a young adult because of an intense fear of pregnancy and STIs. Now my wife is asexual. We have an open marriage, but I'm picky about my sexual partners. I think about sex often and I have a high libido when I find a suitable partner, but between pickiness and social anxiety, I don't go out. Add in a 40-hour week, I'm too tired and would rather just hang out with my wife. So Diana, lesbian, she used to not have sex because she fears pregnancy and STIs. And then when she got married, her wife happens to be asexual. And then what did Diana do? She said, "Okay, I'm gonna have an open marriage." And then she had an open marriage because she had a high libido, and but still because she has a 40-hour week, 40-hour week, hour work week. Sorry, I was trying to listen because it sounded weird. How do you say 40-hour week or 40-hour work week? So she was very tired. Can you imagine working for 40 hours? That's roughly 40 divided by 7. Okay. Some people are different. Some of us can try and work for it more. All right. This is another person. Okay, this one is a bit long and there she is complaining. Jay is complaining about queer sex. It's harder because the community is so fat phobic and lack any knowledge that we are bodies that are capable of sex, let alone like it. Yeah, there's some people who don't like fat people, especially in the queer community. And this is a trans woman talking about that. And so sorry for Jay. And that's why the sex is little. Now for Kava, his priority is figuring out my own life right now. So he's not thinking about sex. He's thinking about how to get his shit in order. So, and then someone here is attacking third wave feminism, saying that in that time when having a lot of sex was almost like wearing a suit at work. And so, in order to become equals, we women should also have as much non committal sex as we perceived men to be having. This was an important step in bringing female sexuality to the general consciousness. But now I think we're at a point that we realize our feminine sensitivity is also a strength. And so it's okay not to have sex without attachment and to make it more seriously and more selective. So she has left the third wave feminist thinking. This other guy got a vasectomy, so he's not really thinking about sex that much. And someone said, I'm petrified of STIs. So basically, it's what we've just been discussing all through the day. And people are having less sex because we are working longer hours for less money and in more fragile jobs. This is the best one. We don't have time for sex, nor the mental capacity to seek it out, nor enjoy it when it comes, so that it can be potentially be sustained in like a relationship. Neoliberalism is bad for our libidos. That's Tim, age 24. He's so fed up with the neoliberal world we are in right now. So I like his comment. He said, we are working for longer hours, but it doesn't mean we're getting more money. And jobs are even few. So basically, we have no time for sex, let alone the mental capacity. Imagine this is a 24-year-old talking like this. Wow. He has really understood the world. And yeah, that's where we are, and that's where we're going. And now the question is, I leave to you. Excuse me. What is going to be, what's the way forward? There are many, of course, there are very many solutions. And one of the solutions is, what does sex do? Sex is not only for reproduction, that's number one. Sex is also for pleasure, and sex is also for bonding, and um, sex is also for what do you call it? Is there any other reason why people have sex? Of course, I don't want to mention the other reasons. There are other reasons that should not be mentioned. Yes, but basically those are the four reasons: pleasure, reproduction, what do you call it? Bonding, and sometimes now if you're very negative, people have sex to get on to somebody. You hurt me, so I'm gonna have sex to pay you back for what you did to me. So some people do that, but that's not good. So let's just leave it at the three purposes. And so, why have I listed the purposes? It means that there is no if sex is declining, the question is, does it mean pleasure is declining? Secondly, does it mean reproduction is declining? And does it mean that bonding is declining if sex is declining? Of course, I have already told you, let's now first deal with each purpose of sex. Pleasure. It is not necessarily so that pleasure is declining. Reason being, people have got an alternative pleasure, alternative sexual pleasure, and that is pornography, and that is internet sex applications, sexual applications, whereby you can have sex online without physical sex, chatterbaiting, all of these things. So because of that, people are getting an alternative sexual pleasure rather than physical sexual pleasure. People are getting virtual sexual pleasure. So it's not that the physical sexual pleasure is what has declined, but the purpose of having sex for pleasure hasn't. People are still having fun. It's just that they're not having it physically, they're having it virtually. Now, to the second purpose of sex, reproduction, and that's for the straight and the bisexual people who engage in straight sex. The reproduction hasn't, sexual reproduction um, reduces in a scenario whereby people are not having heterosexual sex for reproduction. And of course, people are using contraceptives, condoms. You can use a condom and still have heterosexual sex. You can still use a condom. And but what's not going to happen is fertilization. So there's no reproduction in condom sex, or it shouldn't be there, even though condoms get torn. And in the process, fertilization takes place. So, and then even besides that, women also take contraceptives, pills, so that to stop fertilization, but to still have sex. So, what is happening is sexual reproduction may be declining for good reasons, because we are now, people are family planning. We don't want to have an overpopulated world, and so we have to use different family planning methods. So one of them is using condoms or taking contraceptives. However, in despite that, there is now what you call asexual reproduction. This is where you don't have to have sex to reproduce, and it's happening in the world through and stem cell reproduction. And thirdly, and lastly, the last purpose of sex for bonding, just to be friends, just to have a pal, a fuck mate, not necessarily pleasure, just to, someone just calls you and says, hey, I just want fun to be with someone. Yeah, that's now bonding. It's not necessarily for, going to get, I'm horny. You're not really horny, but you just want to give someone friendship in a sexual way. Now, for that one, the bonding is now also alternative. You now do it on Facebook, you talk to the person, Messenger, WhatsApp, you talk to them. That's what happens. But you have to understand this, that for the bonding, the physical bonding is decreasing because there is so much virtual bonding. And the virtual bonding is a bit shallow because there is something important about physical bonding that is powerful. That's why sex is, nothing can beat sex, homosexual or heterosexual, because it is so physical and therefore so psychological and so bonding that it is the highest form of unity. Yes, that's what people need to know. That's why I am for of I prefer a sexual society. Sexual, not with A. Sexual. People should have sex. Homosexual or heterosexual, they should be encouraged. It makes people learn how to trust somebody, how to know somebody, how to bond. It keeps us human. Because what's happening now with the virtual sex we are having these days, it doesn't make us human. Because you don't need a human being to be happy. So what does that mean? It will make you more solitary, more, you don't need people, so you don't have people's skills, you don't know how to work as a team. These days I always cry to people, let's work as a team, let's talk to each other, but people can't because of the society we're living in. We are so, leave it alone, I'm doing it on my own, I don't need you, I don't need you to be happy, you know so that's what's happening these days, and because of the virtual pleasure we are getting. So there should be a balance between the virtual and the physical bonding we're doing. Virtual sex and physical sex. There should be a balance. You should get some time to have sex with your pals or your mate, and then also have virtual sex when you're alone. Yes, and that's it. Okay, nice video from the Atlantic. Extremely nice. I liked it. Very short. So sorry for me. I analyze in depth, inside, and it's a wonderful video we've done. Okay, more videos are coming, and we'll be right back.